I'm Joe Reel.
And I'm Peter Gill.
And this is Two Men Talking Movies.
Say what again? Say what again?
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Get off my plane. Here's Johnny. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Good day, sir.
You ever dance with the devil in the pit? I am the father.
Beats. We can kill it.
The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
Two men
Talking movies.
Welcome to the first episode of Two Men Talking Movies. This is Joe.
And I'm Peter.
And a little bit about us. We grew up together.
Oh, yeah.
And decided that we're going to start a podcast. And this is our podcast. We both love movies, love TV shows.
We love being critical of things.
Yeah, we like to critique things and judge them. So we said, well, why not turn it into a podcast and talk about it?
Instead of having our wives or friends hearing us
Instead of
talk
annoy
about
them
it,
about it, yeah.
We'll annoy our audience.
We'll
with
find
our reviews.
others who actually like to critique things or hear people critique things. Yeah. So, our first episode, which is going up right now, I guess when you heard this week, or if you're listening to this in the future and it's gone up a long time ago, that means that we've been successful and that we're still going. So, thank you for that. But this is going to be our first episode, and we are going to tackle a movie that's been pretty
Polarizing?
Yeah, it's gotten rough critic reviews,
Mixed user reviews.
mixed user reviews. The user reviews seem to be on a 1 to 100 scale. They've been around 70s.
Yeah, I would say anywhere from 70s, 75.
Yeah,
Any type
so
of
decent user reviews.
Yeah, any blockbuster is going to have probably these type of reviews.
And so it's been pretty split with the critics and the actual consumer, everyday consumer who's watching this film. But today's film that we're going to be talking about is the notorious Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Throwing down.
Yeah, this is Zack Snyder's second DC movie. He did Watchmen.
Oh, he did Watchmen, yeah.
He did Watchmen, right. And I thought he did a great job with that.
Yeah, everyone who watched Watchmen, who knew Watchmen before the actual movie, said that he did a great job depicting the comic.
Oh, yeah, great. You know, he left the whole comic within the comic out of there, which was fine by me, but some people didn't like that.
Yeah.
Because there is actually a comic book while you're reading Watchmen comic, you're also following this kid who's like reading another comic in Watchmen. So it's like a comic in a comic. It's really weird. You know, whole Inception right there.
Yeah. I never really read any of the Watchmen comics.
Yeah, so anyways, so Zack Snyder, I guess WB, or right, that's the producing
Warner
company,
Brothers,
Warner
yeah.
Brothers, yeah, they were satisfied with what he did and said, well, let's give him Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, and I guess they've liked what he's done with the 300 series.
Oh, I totally forgot he did 300.
Yeah. So he went ahead and he did this movie. This is the most recent Batman movie, or the first one since Christopher Nolan gave up the reins. And oh, you know what? I totally missed something. This is Zack Snyder's third DC movie. He did Man of Steel.
Oh, yeah, I sure did.
And that's actually the reason why he was given this opportunity too, because he did Man of Steel. So yeah, this is the first Batman movie since Christopher Nolan gave up the Batman franchise. And right off the bat, Peter, what would you say? You want to say on a 1 to... You want to do the thumbs thing? How are we going to rate these? We got to figure out how we're going to rate the movies. The thumbs thing is going to be kind of rough, because something I might give 1 thumb down, 1 thumb up, I might really like, but it equals to like a 50%. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So let's do best out of 10.
Best 1 through 10. I like the 1 through 10 scale.
Yeah, IMDb has a pretty good rating system, so I think 1 through 10 is probably good.
Yeah.
If I had to, I think what I told you earlier, if I had my nerd glasses on, I'm rating this movie 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
You liked it that much as a
nerd,
because superhero consumer.
Right. Okay, so from a comic standpoint, from a Batman character standpoint, I think they nailed his whole dark side. I think from a nerd standpoint, they included a lot of stuff from the games. They included a lot of stuff from the comics depicting his character, which I really, really liked. From a storytelling aspect, I thought it was around a 6.5 to 7.5. I would
So
give it
just
a
from a
7.
film, from a everyday someone who loves films but doesn't like necessarily superhero movies, if you would put the superhero fanboyism aside,
I would say right under 7. So
right
like
under 7.
6.5.
Okay. All right. So I would say on the 1 to 10 scale, I'm just gonna give it to you straight up because I actually don't. Majority wise, I enjoy superhero movies, but that's not my like go to. Like most of the ones that have come out, I actually haven't even seen.
Okay.
I've seen most of like the big ones, that everyone talks about, but there's a lot. I would say at least I've seen less than 50% of the ones that have come out.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just as a film lover, a movie lover, I would say 7. I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10.
Okay.
So definitely it's not a perfect movie. Better than I thought it was going to be. I walked in, I saw it Friday morning when it came out. Walked in to see it with some friends, sat down, expected just kind of just an entertaining film. I didn't expect it to be good. Yeah, by the end, I was like on the edge of my seat. Loved it. I don't agree with the majority of critics at all.
Why not?
A lot of what they said was it's too long. It's long, but to me, it really depends on what you're sitting in. Like for a movie to be too long to me, I notice when a movie's long when I'm uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I don't like being cramped up in a movie theater. So I've seen the movie twice so far. So the first time I saw it, I was in a theater that had recliner seats. And for those of you who haven't been in the recliner seats, these are actually powered seats. You got plenty of room to sit in. You're not elbows to elbows with people. And the footrest comes up, the seat leans back. You can adjust.
Ultimate comfort.
Yeah, adjust it how you want. Oh, and the next row in front of you is like, what, 7-8 foot away?
No, it's more like 3 or 4 feet away.
But you have a whole you have your seat, and there's like a whole extra section of like plenty of walking. Like people don't have to scoot by you to get to their seat.
Right.
You have like three or four people can walk side by side, and they'd probably graze your foot then. But you know what I mean? 3 or 4, right?
No, I would say 2 people.
No, 3. I would say 3.
3 people in between you and the next.
Three could walk shoulder to shoulder between you and like the bar.
Okay.
And
we're talking normal Americans here.
Yeah, normal Americans, like normal body shape, 300 pounds. So
I would disagree with you. I'd say it's like 1 to 2.
But the point is that it's plenty of room. It's way more than what the average theater has been in the last 20 years. So I saw the first viewing in a theater like that, and it was amazing. The second viewing, which I saw with you, it was good. I saw it in a later time. I don't think I had eaten in a while, and it was a cramped theater. So at that moment, I did realize the length of the movie. It was long at that time, but I think it was because I was uncomfortable.
So you think that's what knocks it down for
you?
Yeah, the length of the movie?
Well, no, I'm saying I don't agree with that. I just think, to me, the only way I realized the length was just because of my discomfort.
Gotcha.
Second thing that people are really saying about it is too many characters. And without spoiling anything right now, we're about to go into spoilers, but I'm going to tell you right up front, not too many characters at all. There was some quick hints at some characters, but when they said too many characters, I was expecting like at least 10 minutes of on-screen time per character, and that's not what this movie is. Majority, what you're seeing is Batman and Superman. There's a couple little things here and there, but did you feel like it was overwhelmed with characters?
No, but I also come from...
And Lex Luthor. So Batman,
Right.
Superman, and Lex Luthor.
I come from a background where I'm used to reading about multiple characters.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. So any of y'all out there who know Game of Thrones know there's multiple characters. So basing it off of what I really like, which is Game of Thrones, high fantasy, Lord of the Rings... To me, it's very, very difficult to go into a movie thinking, oh, I don't have enough to keep track of.
Okay, so for the listeners right now who don't want to hear spoilers, I'm going to say one more thing before we get into that. Peter, you gave it right below a 7.
6.5.
6.5, so 6.5 for Peter, 7 for me. Peter, would you tell people to go see this movie?
Yes. I would, yes. Go see it in theaters.
I would say the same thing. Go see it in theaters. Even if you don't like superhero movies, go see it. It's very entertaining. I would say this, though. I don't think you could really enjoy... Well, you could still enjoy it, but you would be confused if you didn't see Man of Steel before you saw this movie. This is actually
True.
It's a true sequel to Man of Steel.
True.
Yeah.
True. On a level of go seeing it in theaters and wait for it on Netflix, I say go see it in theaters.
Yeah, and the whole 3D thing, I didn't see it in 3D. I don't think you have to. I didn't really notice anything. I was like, oh, that would have been amazing in 3D.
I'm not a fan of 3D. So.
Yeah, so I can't judge it on how well the 3D was. I saw it in normal. So right now we're gonna go into spoilers. So I encourage you, if you did not want to hear spoilers, you can turn the podcast off now. Please give us a review and rating and subscribe. But before we get into that, let's take a quick break.
Ah, yes! I was wondering what would break first. Your spirit? Oh, your buddy!
Hey, Joe.
What's up?
You know how sometimes you go on Amazon, you read these reviews on this book, and you buy this $30 book.
Yeah.
And you get the book, you get like 3 pages or maybe 3 chapters in, and you're like, this sucks.
Of course.
You know how you could have avoided that?
If someone read it before me and told me, I'm guessing.
Yes. Fortunately, there's a channel on YouTube called Bookables.
Really?
It's at youtube.com/user/Bookables. Once again, that's youtube.com/user/Bookables. Subscribe to that channel, and I guarantee you'll never make that mistake again.
And not only is it a YouTube channel, but you can also find Bookables on Twitter at twitter.com/Bookables1. So that's twitter.com/BOOKABLES1. So before we get into the spoiler review of the movie, I want to tell you guys about something we're doing. Me and Peter decided that we're going to do a little contest. Since we're a brand new podcast and a lot of people don't know about us and we really don't have that big of a fan base yet, we want to try to make that fan base grow. And we need our listeners' help. Yes, that's your help. So what I'm going to ask you to do is go to facebook.com/Two Men Talking Movies. That's facebook.com/Two Men Talking Movies. Like the page, and you'll notice a post. A post on that page regarding the first episode of Two Men Talking Movies. Share that post on your own feed, and you'll enter yourself in to win a free $20 movie theater gift certificate to any theater chain of your choice. Yeah, that's any theater chain of your choice. That's Regal, Cinemark, whatever you want. And we'll mail it to you, free shipping. All you got to do is share the post. And remember to tune back in 2 weeks to hear the next episode where we'll announce the winner.
You won! You did it! You did it! I knew you would! I just knew you would!
And now we're going to spoilers.
Spoilers.
So let's start out with the beginning of the movie. The beginning of the movie starts out, you see, it starts off right when Man of Steel basically ends. The end of Man of Steel, there's a fight between General Zod and Superman. They're fighting in Metropolis, destroying everything. And so you're seeing the same fight, but you're seeing it through Bruce Wayne / Batman's point of view.
Right.
Yeah. So he comes in, and he comes in on a helicopter he gets in a car and he's driving around. You're seeing buildings fall down, and he's trying to get to Wayne Towers, which is a business. You don't really know what it's. Wayne Financial, I think the building said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of his company's buildings in Metropolis.
Can we first talk about the awkward product placement at the very beginning?
Yeah, that was
very, very awkward. It's so awkward because you're wondering why a billionaire is driving around this Jeep.
In a Jeep. Yeah.
During the
he
scene
flies in on a helicopter and jumps in the Jeep that looks like a Honda Fit or something.
It looks like a Fiat.
It's like a mini
I'm sitting
Jeep,
here,
yeah.
instead of getting involved in the movie, wondering why on earth is Bruce Wayne driving around this ugly Jeep.
Yeah, you're like, why do I keep seeing this Jeep logo flashing around on the screen?
It's very hard to do a car chase scene with a billionaire in a Jeep.
Yeah, it was.
Just throw that out
and it wasn't a cool Jeep at all. It was like the family Jeep. Like it looked like something that a soccer mom would be driving.
Yeah, a chick Jeep. No offense to chicks who drive Jeeps, but that's what it looks
A
like.
chick. I've seen some chicks. The whole like
The
silly
Wranglers.
boys Jeeps are for girls or whatever.
Yeah,
There's some
but
girls that drive
if
big
you
Jeeps.
if you drive the Wrangler, but if it's a Jeep Liberty and you're driving around
Okay,
Metropolis,
so
as a billionaire-
the family Jeep.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's what this looks
That's
like.
it. Yeah, that's what this
very,
looks like.
very awkward.
Yeah.
But of course, we're talking about right now, so obviously it did well as a product placement. But it's very
And
awkward.
we saw one today too, and I was like, I recognize that Jeep.
Yeah, but it didn't make me want to go buy the Jeep.
No, definitely not. So that whole scene I thought was awesome. Besides the Jeep, you get this little flash of Bruce, going. He's talking to this guy on the phone, trying to get there, trying to get his people out of the building because he knows like that we need to evacuate the area. And it was awesome. The building came down. Sadly, people died.
Yeah.
And you see the scene where Batman Bruce Wayne is looking up at the sky at like watching Superman, and he's got just so much anger in his face.
Yeah, he does. Another part of that, and this is me being a little critical of the movie, but that's why we're here. That's why we're talking on this podcast. The whole relationships felt a little forced at the beginning.
At that moment, yeah, I guess, yeah, when the doorman's on the ground, he's like, "What do they call you, Wally?" Yeah,
exactly.
That was kind of goofy. That part was goofy.
Oh, little girl, where's your mommy? Oh, she was in the building. That all felt really.
They wanted
forced.
you to feel kind of like, oh, this, instant people died or got hurt.
If they could have tied that to a character that we had some type
But
of.
Wally came in. The reason they had Wally was because he comes into play later on.
Right.
So his
I
character
understand.
was important.
Yeah.
But I did like the scene though. So when the Wayne Financial Tower falls down, and he gets out of his car and he's yelling no, and he's running, and you almost have this. It really reminded me of not to be grim, but you remember the trade towers when they collapsed, and you saw a video of the wall.
Yeah, how they kind of just buckled down.
Yeah, and you saw the video of the wall of smoke coming towards the cameras. I mean, it was terrifying. Well, this kind of had that same effect of this wall of rubble and ash coming down the street. People are running, and you see Bruce Wayne running into it, screaming because he's like, no, screaming no, trying to get in there. And it's this eerie moment where he's walking through it, and you see this police horse walk by, and there's no police officer on there. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a cool scene.
Yeah, I think that whole scene was done really well because they were obviously setting the stage for his hatred. He loves one of the things about Bruce is that he takes care of his employees. He's this hard on the street Batman, but he cares about the people that are around him. Alfred, all the multiple Robins they've had in the comic series and all that. He always has people involved with him. Yeah, so they definitely tied in because when the trailers came out, I was wondering, how are they going to make why is Batman going after Superman? What possibly could have happened to make, How did you feel about? We're transitioning from that opening scene. How did you feel about the scene with his parents?
So there's this dream sequence in the beginning. You don't know it's a dream sequence, but it's Bruce and he's dreaming about his parents dying.
Okay, when I saw that scene come up, obviously it's coming as anyone who's watched multiple Batman movies knows anything about the comics. To me, I thought this movie was just going to throw us in to who Batman was. I didn't know they were going to orchestrate his origin. Another origin. To me, we've seen so many Batman movies over the years. Do we really need another orchestration of his origin?
No, but there was a reason for it too, because it comes into play later on. So I noticed this the second time I watched it. There's little things that you kind of are annoying, but then you realize later, oh yeah, there's a reason. The director wanted you to see that for a reason.
Right.
I heard somebody say something a long time ago. This was probably on an article or another podcast I listened to. But they said that directors purposely, everything you see in a movie is for a reason. You're never looking at anything for everything is purposely placed in a movie for some reason, whether it's subliminal or, there's something always there for a reason. The director's trying to get something to you.
Don't you think that could have been done a little bit better? Throughout the movie, we see Batman have dreams.
I actually loved this scene because the one thing I didn't like about it, I thought was goofy, was when the little boy's floating up in the bats. The bats are flying around.
Yeah, that's
that was the part where I kind of realized it was a dream. I was like, what? I was like, does he have supernatural powers now?
Right,
I don't understand. What kind of Batman is this? Yeah, so the actor who actually played, it was Thomas Wayne, who was Bruce's father, was Jeffrey Dean Morgan. And for those of you who may have, if you've seen the movie or not, he played the comedian in Watchmen, and he was cast as Negan in the Walking Dead series. Something else really interesting I just realized when we were looking up some of this stuff was that Lauren Cohen from Walking Dead, who plays Maggie, was actually his wife, and I thought that's pretty funny because they're both from Walking Dead.
Yeah, and for those of you who might be watching or seeing internet memes going around about this movie, Batman's dad and Superman's dad do not have the same names.
What? I was wondering where you were going with that.
So you know how Batman and Superman's mom both have the same name. Their dads have different
Thank
names.
you for clearing that up.
Just in case anyone was wondering.
That was bothering me this whole time.
They do have a lot in common. Having two dads with the same name is not one of them.
All right. So I haven't really read a lot of the Batman comics. Read The Killing Joke and a couple. I've read some Justice League stuff since I actually saw this movie because I've been interested in it. But other than that, I don't really know a lot about the Batman comics. So apparently, I think it was in The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises. They have they showed the origin story of Batman, and basically Zack Snyder copied. I say cop, not in a bad way. Copied. He like did it for, fans of like, I really want to make this like the comics. The whole scene when Martha, Bruce's.
I did like that.
Yeah,
scene.
the whole like pearls on the gun. So I saw the picture online, and it's like it's like a direct cut from the comic. It looked awesome, and the gunman pulls the trigger, and it's like a 9mm, so the chamber pulls back, and the pearl necklace breaks, and you see pearls go everywhere.
I thought that was really good.
Yeah, it was very cool, and it actually did feel kind of like sad when his dad was sitting there dying, and he looks over and he says her name Martha. Although people have been joking about that, I thought that was like really. I was like. That was like emotional, and she looks over at him, and you see her eyes dilate, and she's just dying. I'm like, good grief.
I know, that's pretty sad.
Yeah,
which I think carries a great tone for the movie.
Yeah,
I think that's how Batman vs Superman should be. I think there should be this underlying, depressing, dark tone, because that's just the nature of Batman's character.
Yeah. So I thought that was a cool scene. It's got a lot of jokes on it. So I know a lot of people like me coming out of. I love the Dark Knight trilogy. Besides the Dark Knight Rises, I wasn't really a fan of that, but what did you think about the recast? Because a lot of people were like, is Zack Snyder going to recast some of these characters, which he did. Obviously, we have a new Batman who is Ben Affleck. The new Alfred, I was kind of worried about because I was like, I don't know, Jeremy Irons is Alfred, but I thought he did a good job.
Yeah, I thought he did well. I've always liked the take on Alfred that he's more than just a butler. He's more of an aid to Batman, and
which was how Christopher Nolan kind of did too. Like he would. Mess with the gadgets and stuff. And in this movie, we saw Alfred working on the Batmobile, doing a lot of cool stuff like that.
Yeah, I thought that was really.
Yeah, he was basically Batman's handyman. He worked. I mean, he would work. You'd see him working on the suits, and
he's a little bit of Batman's conscience too.
So throughout this movie, this Batman brands criminals who like interrogate him and kind of torture him and beat him up, and he has this. It's like a Batman symbol. But it's like a branding. I don't know how they don't show them, like heating it up or anything. But you see them use it a couple times, and it burns basically the bat symbol into their skin, which you hear like a news broadcast, and the guy says it's basically a death sentence for anyone who goes into prison with that symbol. They get
because they know they talked.
Yeah, they know that they talked, and Batman marked them, so they kill him. Yeah, so I thought that was kind of cool, that whole branding thing. And you see Alfred, talk to him. He says, "Oh, so." What is it? He says something to him like, we're now
playing by our own rules.
Yeah, that's what he says. We're playing by our own rules now. And Ben Affleck looks at him and is like,
so what?
Yeah. Basically, yeah, like, who cares? I made the rules,
Right. I like that. I thought that was one thing I've always thought hasn't been done very well with the previous Batmans is how dark the character actually is. And I think a few things in this movie showed how good of a job they did relaying his characters to the comic, or relaying Batman's character to the comics and showing how dark he was. And one of those is having a blatant disregard for how the criminals went into prison with branding them. Mm-hmm. I thought that was pretty good. So I did like the whole branding thing and having the bat symbol. I thought that was a different touch.
It was cool.
That. Yeah.
At one point in the movie, there's a car chase scene where you see Batman going after a package which ends up to be kryptonite. He's trying to get this kryptonite so he can fight Superman. And as he's chasing this tractor trailer down, which did remind me of the Dark Knight tractor trailer scene in the tunnels. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah,
it did have. Yeah, it had kind of. I was like, it's kind of.
Well, that's the only way you can transport stuff around Gotham.
I
and
guess
Metropolis.
tractor trailers. Yeah.
I mean, you got a kryptonite the size of a soccer ball,
and there happened to be a guy in there with a rocket launcher.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I mean, couldn't be transported in a van
Or a helicopter, which
or
makes
an
sense.
SUV,
Yeah.
or an SUV.
Just fly it to where we need to get it. Yeah. So we see Batman chasing them, and this is when you realize that this Batman is different because he kills people. Right? He's fighting. So he's chasing these people down. He hits a car and shoots this like grappling gun and starts dragging the car behind him. And like the people inside are getting smashed. You know, the car's upside down, grinding on the road. And then he flips the car and it lands on top of another car, squishing the inhabitants of the car. You know, the people.
Right.
Yeah. So you start to realize like, oh, this guy. He doesn't care.
No, he doesn't care one bit.
Yeah, he doesn't care, and it was cool. It was neat to see this new Batman.
One thing I really didn't get was the guy poking through the screen when Batman got to the end of his dream with, I guess, Darkseid. What was that all about?
Yeah. Okay. So this was a pretty hot topic I saw all over the internet after the movie was shown Friday. So basically, let's go back a little bit. Basically, we see Batman walking through this desert plain. It ends up to be a vision. We realize he's like having a dream.
I was like, what, does Batman have a cult or something?
Yeah, it got really weird. And it made the movie almost get really confusing.
It didn't really fit. Did it feel like it fit?
It didn't when it was playing on the screen. After he woke up, it made sense. And I'm going to explain to you why. So he wakes up from this vision. We realize it's a vision or a dream or something. And there's a man that's like screaming through a blurry.
Yeah. I
like,
didn't quite
wall.
understand that.
Yeah, there's like it looks basically, I guess, like if you would think of like a black hole forming like right in front of you. Like a mini.
I've never
kinda.
seen one, so
Right.
I can't really picture
Right.
that, but I'm gonna try.
You can imagine with your mind. That's
Oh, is that what I'm gonna imagine?
That's what you're
with?
going to imagine, yeah. So this man screaming. So that is supposed to be the Flash. And that wasn't explained in the movie. And that's really something like I've said through this episode about 10 times. I've started reading the Justice League comics. The Flash can basically travel through time.
Stop it.
Yeah, he can jump through.
What is this, like X-Men Days of Future Past?
Kind of. And, well, kind of. The DC universe is made up of different worlds or different dimensions. And Flash can pretty much jump through different ones by going through time.
Because he could run so fast.
Yeah, he can run so fast and he jumps forward or backwards. So what that scene was depicting was, from what people have been able to gather and kind of make out, was the actor that's going to play Flash. I can't remember his name right now, and I didn't do my research, so I can't tell you. But it was the same actor who's playing Flash. That's how people figured out, it's Flash. That makes sense. And
Got it. Okay.
And so he was warning. We see him warn Bruce, Batman, about
Lois. He said Lois is the key.
Lois is the key.
And didn't it flash right to a scene with Lois or no?
No, not in the movie.
Oh, okay.
But
so they're not talking about Lois being the key in this movie. They're talking about Lois being the key.
It doesn't. Yeah,
throughout the films.
it's a very blurry message, but it's some kind of hint towards something in the future movies, I think. And also, in case you didn't recognize some of the things in that vision or that dream that Batman was going through, it was basically a future where post-apocalyptic, a character named Darkseid, who you'll find out he's going to be in the Justice League movies, I think the main villain. And in the comics, he's a really big villain. Very similar to the Marvel Cinematic Universe Thanos.
Okay, yeah.
So very similar to that character. Ultimate destruction, kind of goes from world to world, taking over things. And the things you saw flying around, the people with like the wings, those are, I believe they're called parademons. And Darkseid creates these parademons by capturing organisms or people, beings from the worlds he conquers, and puts them through this process that transforms them into these parademons that work for him.
Okay, that whole part of the movie, and
It's like harvesting beings. It's pretty.
Oh,
if they show that in the movie, it'll be pretty nasty. So.
Now that explanation clears everything up, I didn't. It felt weird. That part of the movie felt really weird.
It was really weird, and I didn't know what was going on until I went home and did a bunch of research, which I'm sure most viewers felt the same way. It was very fanfare of Zack Snyder to put that in there.
Okay.
So really, kind of, you're a comic fan and you know the backstory to all this stuff.
Well, sorry, Joe, I'm not a real comic.
And I am not either, but I'm trying to be. I'm trying to catch up on this stuff. So yeah, it was very cool. You see like an Omega symbol, which is Darkseid's symbol that's in the sand, kind of there at Metropolis or Gotham, whatever the city Batman's looking at. And then we see an evil Superman who has an army that basically works for him. And the Superman also...
So this happens in an alternate universe?
Yeah, an alternate future. If this stuff happens, whatever Flash was trying to warn Batman about, this is what's going to happen.
So do you think, like in the future movies, Lois is going to die?
Because in the comic series, as far as I've gotten in Justice League, there's some parts where Darkseid is actually trying... He wants Superman, and he wants to turn him into one of his
So a
minions.
popular theory might be that Lois dies in the future movies... Superman turns evil. Batman regrets his decision.
Yeah, Batman becomes like a rogue.
Then we have Batman versus Superman all over again.
I guess.
Sounds like Marvel Civil War.
Round 2, yeah. So yeah, that was a cool scene.
Yeah, with the explanation, it makes sense, but it felt a little awkward in the movie.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of the bat suit? Did you like the bat suit?
Which one?
Good. Actually, yes, you're right. There were 2 bat suits. Let's start with the first one, just the normal bat suit with the short. I guess it's called the cowl. Is that what they call it? His headpiece.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with the short little bat horns.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't
like that. I thought it was pretty cool looking.
I thought it looked very. When I first saw it, I thought it looked like very militaristic. I thought it looked kind of reminded me of Kevlar and. I thought it looked really good. It looked woven, which is pretty cool. I just thought it looked different. So I thought it looked great. And as far as the armored suit went, I just thought that was really cool. I liked that. I felt it was like a nod to like Iron Man's little Hulk.
The Hulkbuster
suit. The Hulkbuster suit that Iron Man had. I thought Batman did a pretty good job.
Yeah, it was really cool. Kind of. I guess it was kind of worthless in a way,
Right.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it saved from some blows during the fight.
Yeah, I mean, he was going to get pounded around. He couldn't have taken that in his
getting thrown
suit.
through walls and stuff. You're right. So yeah, I thought the redesign of the bat suit was awesome. So character-wise, how do you think? What did you think about Ben Affleck's Batman?
I thought it was good.
Yeah,
I thought it was average.
I didn't think it was better than Christian Bale.
No,
I think that's really hard to top.
Right.
But I don't know. I was thinking about this earlier, like versus Michael Keaton, Batman from 1989. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's right on par with the Michael Keaton. One thing I really did appreciate about this Ben Affleck is that he was bigger. He was bigger than Christian Bale.
Yeah,
he was bigger than some of the other Batman.
He was very
bulky,
very brawny.
Yeah. And which is what you'll see in a lot of the comics is like a bulkier Batman.
Yeah, and we're looking right now too. We're looking at some pictures from, we haven't read it, but the Dark Knight Returns comic, and it's, I mean, you can tell they did a lot to look like that comic.
Christian Bale's a small dude. Ben Affleck.
Yeah, Christian Bale's a lean guy. He's very fit. And his Batman, was different than this Batman, and not that really either of them are worse than the other. You know what I mean? It's just it's a different Batman.
Yeah. In order to wear that big suit, that he wears to fight Superman, he has to be a little bulky.
Yeah, he's got to be bulkier, and you see that in the movie. He's working before he goes to fight Superman. You see him working out and getting big. Superman, I love Henry Cavill's his portrayal of Superman. I love it. I think the guy's a great actor. I love the Superman that's can't. This whole thing, I think his father told him in Man of Steel, you know, you're the hero that the world, they don't deserve you, you know,
Right.
but you're the one that they need.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love the portrayal of this Superman. I love it more than I didn't really like the other Superman movies, honestly. I would say, going back real quick to Man of Steel, that movie also got a lot of flack, just like this one. But as a Superman movie, Man of Steel is the best Superman movie.
Oh, for sure.
Not the perfect Superman movie, not the one I wanted, but
Right. We're not talking first Iron Man here. I mean, that's not.
yeah, I mean it's not like Batman Begins. Okay.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
It's not the Batman Begins of the Superman version, but it was good. I liked it, and I like Henry Cavill.
I like
as
how
Superman.
conflicted he was in this movie.
Yeah,
he was very conflicted. He wanted to do the right thing. He wasn't sure what he was doing, if it was the right thing. One of the things that I kind of associate with my life is that I always want to make sure I'm doing the right thing, whether it's the right thing for me, but I want to make sure it's the right thing for the people I'm working with, the people I'm interacting with. And I think that's what Superman is trying to do in this movie, which I really appreciate and I really liked. And even though it taints his character to show up before Congress, he does it anyways.
Yeah, and I also love there was like a little montage of where you hear some people talking in the background. It's like a news broadcast or something, and you see these scenes of Superman doing these random acts around the world where he goes to the it's like the, what is it called, Day of the Dead or Festival of the Dead or whatever in Mexico, where he saves, there's like a building on fire, you see him save somebody, then it cuts to another scene where there's a flood. And he's saving some people, and then it cuts to another scene, and he's pulling the which I thought was awesome. He's pulling that huge ocean liner rig through like the Antarctic ice by the chain. Yeah. And so you see him doing these things, and it's kind of like he keeps trying to do the right thing, but there's this inner struggle with he doesn't know. It's kind of like the guy who does something, but as he's doing it, he's also messing things up accidentally.
Right.
So like Man of Steel, he saved the world, but he also, this Metropolis was destroyed, you know?
Right.
And thousands of people died.
At what cost did he save Metropolis?
And it's that inner struggle of, you know, he doesn't know like everything, you know, it's like everything he does, he's going to have flack about it. People are going to hate him. No one's ever going to, you know, they don't deserve him, but it's what people need.
On a side note, I would hate to be an insurance carrier in Metropolis or Gotham. I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen. Liability.
Just imagine the price of insurance.
I've got to imagine there's some type of superhero clause in their contract.
Yeah, we have a building destruction superhero.
Yeah, superhero clause in our contract that if your property is destroyed by a superhero, we will not cover it. And then you probably have to go buy superhero coverage.
Yeah, so you thought flood damage was high.
Right.
Jeez.
Good night.
So basically Superman, so he gets called to this lady, I don't even remember what her name was. There's a lady throughout the movie you see she's a senator, and she's basically the voice for the people of the group of people who do not like Superman. She's constantly challenging, like, you know, you see her in an interview and she says, the guy says, well, do you think that we need Superman? And she says, well, we have him. You know, like, that's not an option anymore. The fact is that he's here, and
it's not the fact that we need him. It's just that we have him.
We have him. We got to deal with him. Like, it's a problem to her. And so some stuff happens in the Middle East at the beginning of the movie where some innocent people get killed. It ends up to be something that's totally contrived by Lex Luthor. He organizes this whole spiel.
Right.
And so Superman gets blamed for it. So they said, no, you need to answer for these crimes. You know, you killed innocent people, supposedly. So she challenged him, say, I want you to come to the hearing here and in Washington, D.C., and we're gonna talk about it. You know, we want to hear what you have to say about it. And so the scene comes in, and so the character that we talked about earlier, Wally, this guy that's a doorman, shows up. His legs are damaged, and he's basically sent there through Lex Luthor. You don't know what's going on. Basically, Lex Luthor plants a bomb in his wheelchair, and once the building is filled up, he blows it up, and Superman's in there. And I thought that was an awesome scene. I didn't see that coming at all. Did you?
Yeah, I'm not to say that I knew this was coming.
Yeah.
But when I put it together, not when
With the
Lex
whole jar thing?
Yeah. No. I did not put it together when Lex gave him the wheelchair.
I didn't either. I knew I was like, there's something's fishy's going on here, but I didn't know.
I put it together when they were interviewing someone and they see Wally come in, and I saw that they put a metal detector over his body and just let him walk in with his wheelchair. And when I saw that he came in with his wheelchair, I was like, oh, that's got a bomb in it.
Oh, see, I didn't even catch that. So you thought automatically when you saw him go in there, you said there's a bomb in there.
Yeah, because why else would you show him going through that metal detector?
Yeah,
There's no other reason.
you're right, and that's where we go back and say I said the filmmaker always has a reason that there's a
Right.
scene. I didn't even catch that. So.
Yeah, so when he comes in like that, I'm thinking, oh, he's got a bomb in his wheelchair. And then what reinforced that was that Lex says, go in, get my seat for me. And then he's not. And then, of course, everything shows up. So I knew before everything was going on that, and as the scene was unfolding, that there was a bomb in there.
Yeah.
But I didn't figure that out until I saw him walk in. I'm like, oh, why else would they show him going through a metal detector, not getting his wheelchair checked? And so I was sure there was a bomb in there.
Yeah. I thought it was awesome though. You see the building blow up, everyone's dead, and Superman's just standing there in the aftermath, and he has the most like upset look on his face, like I can't, like
Right, I should have seen that.
yeah, and that's what he says later when you see Lois talking to him, and he says, "I could have, if I was paying attention, I would have known there was a bomb there. I could have seen it."
Right.
And that's what the people say too, because then you hear the story come out after that, like, oh, Superman would have seen even the news reporters are saying that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And another thing I liked about that scene is how Superman wanted to go off in seclusion. What we've seen over and over again in comics and the animated series is that when something doesn't go Superman's way, he's so conflicted, he just takes his hands off of trying to help the world. And
He's
he
gotta
goes
get
to
time to
seclusion.
himself,
He
yeah.
goes to his seclusion up in the Arctic, which I really liked.
Yeah.
I did like that whole scene because it kept the tension in the movie.
Yeah.
Because Superman was working to resolve that tension, and he goes to Capitol Hill, and you think, oh, all this tension's resolved, and
Yeah.
Batman's going to be the bad guy. And then Superman has this happen. He doesn't see it, and it keeps the tension in the movie for me.
Superman, again, I loved. See, I actually, well, I don't say I love, but I liked Man of Steel a lot.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah.
One of the things I think they could have done without, which would have shortened the movie, was if they would have had the idea of Batman versus Superman in Man of Steel, then you could have seen a cameo of Ben Affleck or cameo of Batman.
Maybe,
in the
but they
movie.
needed an origin. They needed to redo an origin story for Man of Steel because Superman Returns was complete trash.
Well, Superman Returns, but in Superman Returns, if you have a cameo, I'm sorry, in Superman Returns, not Man of Steel,
Yeah.
if you have a cameo of Ben Affleck looking up and seeing all this destruction, I think that cuts down on the
In Man of Steel, you're talking about
No. In Superman Returns is when he fights General Zod.
No,
Yeah.
that's Man of Steel. Superman Returns is the one that had the guy who is now on one. He played in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. He's been on a couple small projects.
There's been one Superman movie, correct? Or two Superman movies?
Total? It's been like 5.
Right. Okay, so the newest one is Man of Steel.
The one, all right, so in the last 10 years, there's been 2.
Okay.
There was Superman Returns, which was, you probably didn't see it, which is a good thing.
No.
And then Man of Steel. Yeah, Superman Returns was awful. But so Man of Steel was like the reboot.
with General Zod.
Yes.
Yes.
But
okay.
but they needed the Superman origin story, which I like the way they did it. Besides that movie was too long, but yeah, the whole Superman in this movie too was the same thing. I think I read somewhere that they had lightened up his suit a little bit, which I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I didn't notice.
Yeah,
anything.
the color scheme. I guess they tried to lighten it up or something, but I didn't notice that. Yeah, so both characters I thought looked great.
Yeah.
So cinematography, special effects, everything. Visual wise, I thought looked great.
One thing that I really liked about this movie was the modern day problems that Batman faced and the modern day problems that Superman faced.
Mm-hmm.
So normally we see like drug cartels and how Batman's fighting the drug war and things like that. But if you notice, when you first get introduced to Batman, he's fighting sex trade and slave trade with all those women down there in the basement, which I thought was a nod to some of the underlying problems going around in the world right now with the sex trade with the women. And then also a few other things in the movie that gave a nod to some of the modern day implications, like when Superman shows up to save Lois Lane, you have the CIA and our government backing certain dictators and ruthless warlords around the world. I thought was a really good nod to some of the problems that, without getting too political, that our current society is facing.
Yeah, what's going on actually in the world today?
Right,
Yeah.
they're dealing with those types of problems, and not some random drug cartel, or even though those are problems, but I thought they brought some modern day problems in society out.
Yeah, and I think I've noticed too, these DC movies, so like minus Watchmen, I think, which was kind of, well, even Watchmen, because that was that was right after the Cuban Missile Crisis. We know where that kind of storyline took place. But the DC movies, or the DC film universe or whatever, I guess it's cinematic universe, right? DC cinematic universe. And they have this kind of way about them where they seem to be doing like, this is what would happen if this happened in our world. Like, it's very... I have that feeling like this is like, it's grounded in today's society.
Right, correct.
Versus the Marvel movies, I feel like are
deal with aliens and...
Well, there's going to be, I mean, in the Justice League movies that are coming up, it starts getting a little crazy. You'll start to see magic and aliens, and then, I mean, Superman's an alien in this movie,
Right.
And the whole, there's like alternate universes and stuff. It gets kind of crazy, but just, I don't know. I feel like Marvel's kind of like this is this whole other world.
Fantasy.
Yeah, it's a fantasy world. Like, we're over here.
I think
but
DC's grounded in reality.
Yeah, they try to make it realistic. That was the whole thing with Man of Steel to begin with, was he wanted it to be like realistic. The same thing you saw with Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. He wanted it to be realistic, which is really cool. So then there's a scene where Superman is called. So you basically see after that montage where they're showing him save people, you start to see this split of there's people who support Superman, but there's also a majority of people who realize that he could be a danger, or that he's causing more destruction than he's actually helping.
And this is the thing I really like to see in superhero movies, because I'm a huge fan of Game of Thrones. And one of the things about Game of Thrones, or A Song of Ice and Fire, because I've read all the books, one of the things about A Song of Ice and Fire is how real political effects are on common people. All right. And so one of the things I appreciate about the DC universe is how they showed, especially in Batman vs. Superman, the effects of Superman fighting off an alien inhabitant like General Zod.
Yes.
And the effect that has on real people. So how many homes have been destroyed by Superman? How many people have lost their lives because Superman was fighting? I think is a real... It bases it in reality. And so I like that whole tension in the movie of people seeing the good in Superman, but also feeling the negative effects of Superman.
Yeah.
And I think that was a really good scene. And I really liked that they had him appear before Congress like that.
Lex Luthor, what did you think about that guy? This is all right. So this is the part of the movie, and I don't even remember really what the other critic reviews said about this, but I didn't like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor.
Right. I think
it's not that he was a bad actor, but because I like him. All right, he played in Zombieland. He was great in
loved
Zombieland.
Him in Zombieland. Loved him in Social
Yeah,
Network.
love him. I saw some indie film. I can't even think of what it's called, but he played a guy who blew up a dam and ended up killing some people. That was a cool movie. Mm-hmm. Other things I've seen him in, I loved him in, but he's not. He wasn't Lex Luthor. He's not the Lex Luthor I wanted.
Yeah, I think what they're trying to do, they were trying to catch Heath Ledger in a
Definitely. Yep.
And they try to portray him on to Lex Luthor, which I've always from the comics and the shows, Lex Luthor's not necessarily this crazed maniac. He is, but he doesn't come across that way. He comes as an astute business professional who's doing everything for a profit and doesn't care what the cost is to the people of Metropolis or the superheroes. This Lex came across as like a half-crazed individual. Why they had to combine Lex with Joker, I don't understand. You already have other half-crazed maniacs around Metropolis, around Gotham that can carry that villain role. I just think with how serious Batman and Superman were in this movie, I think they had to have some type of crazy, chaotic villain.
Yeah.
I think that's what they were going for.
They wanted like a quirky, yeah, but you can totally see him trying to portray the Joker.
Yeah.
Even if he would deny that in a interview, I know like that, because I mean, there's some lines that he said that were just kind of like, that seems too much to be like Heath Ledger's Joker, you know?
Right. I didn't really care for it. That's one area. Well, I will agree with the critics on this one. I wasn't as annoyed by it as some of the critics were, but it wasn't believable to me.
Yeah, I wasn't buying it. I wanted the Superman animated series Lex Luthor. That's what I wanted. If you're familiar with the animated series, I wanted the brawny billionaire, power hungry at all costs, wants to have what Superman has, power, and is willing to control the world at any cost. So when it comes actually to the characters that were introduced, I want to get into this too, because critics also said that there were way too many characters introduced and it was just confusing. That's a load of crap. I don't see that at all.
I think people were looking for ways to criticize this movie. I don't understand where they're coming from a character perspective. I think there's this unwritten rule in Hollywood that the average moviegoer can't handle more than 5 characters or whatever the magic number is.
Yeah.
5 main characters, because then it's just too much for them. I think they're totally wrong, and I hope and pray that movie producers, show producers will introduce more characters into each movie, because I don't really know where they're coming at from too many characters in one movie. It's an origin movie as well as a Batman versus Superman movie.
Yeah, but even origin-wise, I mean, okay, so we didn't need... Everyone knows the origin of Batman, even though they gave us that little teaser thing in the beginning that was a dream sequence. Everyone knew Batman's origin. If you're a fan, if you've seen any Batman movie in the last 30 years, you know Batman's story. You know how he became Batman. You know his parents were murdered. You know he turned, to fight crime, and that's what started his path. Superman, we had that origin in Man of Steel, so we've got both of them covered. Lex Luthor, he's really the only one I don't think they covered his origin story, but I don't care.
Right.
He's a character I don't really care about. I don't want to know like what makes him tick. Like I know he's a billionaire and he's crazy.
Right. We didn't need that for the Joker.
Yeah, we didn't need that for the Joker. I don't care about that. So Wonder Woman was introduced in this movie. She is a character you see in this movie. She's in the movie pretty much throughout the whole thing. You don't really realize that till later.
Well, I mean, if you know
a
comic fan like
us, or
then.
if you followed this movie before it came out, and the who's being cast is what, you can clearly see that the actress is cast. Her name is Gal Gadot, and she is cast as Wonder Woman. So if you know that going into the movie, as soon as you see her, oh, this mysterious woman, she's going to be Wonder Woman. So we didn't see her origin. We don't know her origin, but that's okay because they're coming out with an origin movie for Wonder Woman. So she was just being introduced. Other than that, we see the villain Doomsday, who comes in at the end. A lot of people didn't like Zack Snyder's Doomsday that he put in this movie, which was the creature which General Zod turns into.
Yes.
That is Doomsday.
Yeah.
Because when he kind of goes, so as you're seeing Doomsday at the end of the movie, he goes through 3 phases. As soon as he hatches from like the
primordial soup.
Yeah, it's basically a placenta that he's in.
Yeah.
And he comes out And he looks, which I've seen some memes on the internet, and it's pretty accurate. Imagine or you can even look at this. You can look at pictures of him online, but he looks like a cave troll from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Mixed with the new Ninja Turtles movies, mixed with a Ninja Turtle from that.
Right.
And yeah, so he looks goofy. I think what Zack Snyder was going for was he was wanting to kind of keep, if you look at the face, it almost kind of looks like General Zod a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got that square face.
Yeah, it's got that very square. I mean, because the actor who plays General Zod has a very distinct face and features. And I think they were kind of trying to keep that connection of this is basically General Zod mutated into a monster.
Right.
And so they were trying to keep that. But as you see, so Doomsday, as you see the government come into play and trying to help Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman fight Doomsday. Doomsday's kind of evolving as they're fighting him. Right. And he goes through 3 phases. So you see the first phase, which I thought looked totally, pretty goofy. The second phase, when he first gets hit with the nuke, right?
Right.
Superman flies him into space. They nuke him, and he absorbs all the power from the nuke. And you see, like, this is the second stage where he actually starts to look more like the Doomsday that you're familiar with, where he's got the kind of like the bone rock looking things coming out of his face and his arms. Mm-hmm. And then the third and final stage, there's more of that, and he's like shooting blasts out of his mouth and his eyes, and it's pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
But I thought they did a good job with Doomsday. It would be, it would have been cooler maybe to have a whole Superman movie fighting Doomsday instead of like Doomsday as like a side character. But I still thought it was cool.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, it was your normal superhero versus villain. I didn't think there was too much more to be played out there. I think for those tried and true comic book fans who didn't like the look of it, then it's really hard for the director to kind of nail that down, as well as try to keep their own vision of what Doomsday is.
Yeah, and you got to look at it like this too. Anytime this is for like the really hardcore fans, anytime that a director is doing one of these movies, they're going to do their own take on it. Just like when you have a comic writer or a new illustrator get a hold of a comic series and they're doing their own spin-off of that series, they're going to have their own take on it and all that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to like it, but it doesn't have to be a direct pull from comics. I like that these filmmakers are putting their own signature on some of this stuff.
Right. It adds a little variance to the character, because we can talk about different characters from different authors or different directors, just like we talk about the different writers of Batman or the different writers of Iron Man or whatever it might be, the different takes that they take on their characters. Because I know there's a lot of writers out there who feel that certain writers of Batman didn't do the character justice, or Ant-Man or whatever it might be. So
you have Doomsday, and the next part is kind of where I think this is what most people were talking about when they said there's too many characters, this is kind of dumb to me. They give you like it was a whole like minute or two of like, hey, here's some hints. These are the characters we're going to introduce in the next movie. You see Wonder Woman looking through this file that Batman got and then gave it to Wonder Woman, and she's looking through the file, and they're basically files that were ripped from a secured I don't know what they're called, secured
hard drive.
Yeah, like a secured
Batman,
mainframe of Lex Luthor's place. And she's looking through them, and there's these files. There's one that has there's 4 files. One of them has Wonder Woman's information on there. It's like all these pictures and videos of her through the year, and you're like, oh, Lex Luthor's been keeping tabs on her, or his people have. Mm-hmm. And so she comes out of that file and she looks, and there's like little like emblems or little like logos of, if you're a fan of the stuff, you probably recognize them. Some of them I didn't recognize because I don't follow the comics like that.
Right.
But you see these little emblems. So the Wonder Woman is like the 2 W's on top of each other. The next file that she clicks on,
Flash.
Yeah, it was Flash, which was like a lightning bolt. and you see this security cam footage of this guy at like a 7-Eleven, and you see him move like you see him use his power.
Right. So you see these files that Lex has on the Flash.
Yeah, the next
Aquaman.
Yeah, Aquaman. He had one on Aquaman where it's like this underwater, which I thought this part was goofy. I didn't think this part was goofy.
Okay, so if I and I'll let you finish here, but if I had to make changes to the movie, there'd be a few things that I'd make changes.
Would this be one of them?
And this part would be one of them.
Yeah.
Instead of the files, if I was Zach, I would have Superman catching a beam, and he's catching this beam in order to save this person, but when he catches the beam, he notices that person's gone. And that person could have been Flash running away from the beam. So he didn't need to do that.
Superman?
Yeah. Or
but then Superman would have known about the Flash.
Oh, no. Superman doesn't know about any of these characters yet.
But you're saying Superman catching a beam.
Yeah, catching a beam.
And the person moved out of the way.
Right, and the person moved out of the way.
So it would have been like, this is footage from the destruction of the first movie.
Right, exactly.
And you kind of see these people
these little Easter eggs throughout the movie.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Or maybe Aquaman poking his head up out of Gotham Bay with a trident or something like that.
That would actually have been pretty goofy. But
right.
You see this little head sticking up with a trident. And then go
well, what we got going here, guys?
Yeah.
But something like that, I think would have been these little Easter eggs throughout the movie instead of pointing and clicking on these files.
Yeah, it was like, oh, here's all the Easter eggs. Which there are Easter eggs throughout the movie, but this was like in your face, like, okay, we're gonna show you. These are the hints of what's coming. So the one,
it felt like a trailer. That's exactly what it felt like.
it was a trailer in a movie, basically.
It was a trailer in a movie for these other movies coming out.
Yeah, so the fact that they had emblems for each one, like the Wonder Woman symbol, the Flash, that was kind of goofy to me.
Lex is smart, but I don't think he's that smart.
Yeah, I'm like, man, how did Lex come up with these trademarks for these characters, and they're going to wear them on their suits before he...
I think Batman did that when he sent the file to Wonder Woman. I think he...
No, because when he clicked on the file... Because the only one he looked at was Wonder Woman's, but the other files were there when you see him.
Sure, you didn't have Batman have like a graphics guy?
Yeah. He's, I guess, I don't know.
Alfred's pretty good with graphics, I'm pretty sure.
But, so out of the files they're looking through, the one that was really goofy to me was Aquaman. It was cool up into a part. It's like this underwater. You're seeing like a cam footage from this underwater explorer submersible, and it's underwater, and they're going into this sunken ship, and you see these glowing eyes deep inside this hole of the ship. And as the eyes come forward, you see it's a human body, and it looks basically like what you would think of
Khal Drogo.
I don't know who that is.
He's the Khal from Game of Thrones.
Okay, so this game, yeah. So I mean, imagine like Little Mermaid, her father, or whatever. Like that's what this dude looks like. He's got long hair, a beard. It's flowing in the water. He's got a trident and stuff, and he's just sitting there. It was cool, and then the camera just sits there for 10 minutes. Oh, not 10. I mean, not 10 minutes. 10 seconds.
Right.
And it's like you're just it's like it's really weird. It was weird. They're like, hey, this is Aquaman. Can you tell?
Yeah,
this is Aquaman.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna leave the camera here for a second just so you can get this all.
Right.
And it got really weird. I was like, okay, I got it in the first second. Like I got it.
Right.
And then Aquaman shoots off, which that was cool. That
was really cool.
But it was weird how the camera just kind of stayed there, and it was kind of goofy because he was like just sitting there, and then he decided to destroy the camera that was looking at him. The next one, which was the most confusing, and if you're not familiar with the animated, I guess it's like Young Justice or something.
Oh, he is in Young Justice.
He is in Young Justice, yeah. He wasn't. I don't think he was an original Justice League character. They added him in Young Justice, but his name is Cyborg.
Yeah.
And he's in the new 52 series if you're a comic book reader. And he has pretty interesting.
I didn't know what it was.
I didn't know either. I mean, I didn't know either. I'm totally, other than animated series, like I don't read comics like that. I have been in the last like week or two since this movie came out. Mm-hmm. I've been trying to catch up on Justice League. But yeah, so he seems to be like he's going to be a cool character. It was kind of confusing. If you're familiar with the Justice League series, then you know the whole Dark Side and his I think they're called mother boxes. So it looked like the scientist, which was the scientist, which is actually Cyborg's father, was sitting there working on him, and it's kind of confusing, that whole thing, because I'm not sure it seemed different from what they actually have in the comics, which is okay, but I don't really.
I think they
know
could
how
have
they're
done
gonna-
that series a little bit better with maybe the military's testing out Cyborg.
Yeah, well, yeah, and also like they show this thing on a table, and it doesn't even look like a person.
Right.
Because see, all right, so Cyborg in the comics, he loses a leg, like an arm, and he's all burned up. So it still looks like a person, but he doesn't. So this was like belly button up, and maybe like one arm of like a torso, and you couldn't really tell if it was flesh or mechanical. It was kind of
Right.
weird. It was confusing.
I did not like that whole sequence, even though I love all those characters. Aquaman and Flash are two of my favorite Justice League characters besides Batman and Superman. But I didn't really like that part at all.
Yeah.
I think Easter eggs could have been better. Them playing a minor role of maybe saving a ship with Aquaman or Flash moving out of the way and catching Superman or Batman off guard. Like, oh, that was weird. Or some unknown reasoning for Cyborg or something like that. I think it could have been done a little bit better, but that's the way they chose to do it. They were obviously fixated on Batman getting a hold of this drive. So I don't know why they chose to do that, but I think there could have been other ways
Yeah.
to accomplish it.
Yeah. So yeah.
But even then, those characters, you don't have to keep up with them throughout the movie. They're just...
Yeah, it was a teaser. It was a teaser in a movie.
It was a trailer within a movie.
Yeah. So on to the main part of the movie, Batman versus Superman, the fight. This comes probably like 3/4 of the way through the movie. They finally start to fight.
Yeah.
Which was okay to me. I wouldn't want it to be an hour-long fight. You know, that would have been kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, because then we're getting back to Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Where there's 30 minutes of fighting.
Oh my god!
God!
Yeah,
Metropolis.
yeah, that was. Yeah, you're right. So they have this fight, and you see Batman get a hold of the kryptonite. You see him working on it, and he's preparing weapons for it. Mm-hmm. And then you see him also training. And he's building this armored suit. And Superman, of course, he doesn't know this is coming. So yeah, you see this Batman suit, armored suit. He's got the weapons that he's been making. One of them's like it's like a grenade launcher that shoots out these gas grenades or gas canisters of a smoked, vaporized version of kryptonite. And he shoots these at Superman, and it basically
Humanizes him.
Yeah,
I really liked the whole sequence of the Batman versus Superman fight. I didn't want it to be them destroying a city, which we've seen over and over again in superhero movies.
Yeah.
They stayed within one building, and I thought...
Did you also like how they kind of like... So, in Man of Steel, everyone's getting destroyed, and you're just like, wow, thousands of people died. This one, they kind of cover their basis as like, no, this isn't going to... Thousands of people aren't going to die again because this is in Gotham at an area of the docks where there's no one working there.
Right.
There's nobody around. It's like
Right.
basically abandoned.
Right, except for all the blue-collar workers of Gotham. Thanks, Batman.
Well, no, because it was at night, so they wouldn't have been there.
Yeah, they were all home. There was no night shifts. Yeah. So what I appreciated about this fight was where it was located. It was very contained, and I loved all of the weapons that Batman used because we had been talking about the stuff they'd used. We've seen in Arkham Knight, which was the game, which you mentioned to me.
Yeah.
And then also what we've seen throughout the comics and the animated series is Batman using smoke grenades to disappear, which I thought was really cool. So from his weapons that he used to the vehicles that he drove, I thought it was all pretty true and all looked really cool.
Yeah.
From a historical standpoint with Batman, I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, Zack Snyder basically threw a net out. I mean, you can see, because that was really cool. If you followed the video games, the Arkham series, from what I see, he pulled some ideas from the games, which was really cool. Because then that kind of ties that's like, oh, people do recognize this as actual Batman
Universe.
Yeah.
Story.
Yeah, it was cool.
Expanded universe.
So the fight was pretty good. It's pretty brutal. The one thing I didn't like, there really wasn't any blood. Did you notice that?
Well, it didn't have a PG-13 rating. You can only have so much blood.
Well, that's just true. And I'm wondering if, he did say in an interview that they are putting out a rated R version on Blu-ray.
Oh, okay.
So I'm wondering if they'll add blood to it.
He did keep his promise. He made him bleed.
Yeah, it was a little cut on his face, which was kind of goofy.
Ouch.
Yeah. And I also didn't like, so Superman flies down to start the fight. And the reason Superman has to fight Batman is because Lex Luthor's got his mom, and he says, if you don't fight Batman, we're going to burn your mom alive. And if you try to stop, if you kill me right now, if you kill me, Lex Luthor, your mom's going to die. So your only choice is bring me Batman dead, and we'll give you back your mother. And so Lex flies down into Gotham. And here's a dumb part is, why is Gotham like a stone's throw away from Metropolis? I was like, oh, there's like a little river that like separates
it's
them.
Gotham Bay that Lex referenced earlier.
Yeah, and I don't know if that, as far as I know, I don't know if that's true to the historical canon of Batman and Superman
if it is,
lore.
it's still stupid.
It is stupid, yeah, because I'm like, well, how come we've never heard of Superman in the Batman movies if all this is going on right across the street? You know, like
right? Isn't like
yeah.
Metropolis either supposed to be L.A. or something like
Well,
that?
I always pictured it like Metropolis was like New York City and Gotham was like Chicago.
Yeah. And so by no means are they a stone's throw away from each other.
They're close, but not that close. You know?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and you literally see Superman. Lex Luthor says, "Yeah, go to Gotham," and Lex looks, and you see the bats. Like you can see the bat symbol. It looks like it's down the street.
Right.
I'm like, what? Like it was.
That was very odd.
Yeah,
very odd.
and it kind of that was. I did not like that. So Superman lands down to fight Batman, and if I was coming to fight somebody, and I had to fight them because someone was going to kill someone I loved, the first thing I would say is, hey, guess what? Someone is making me do this. They're going to kill someone I love. I need your help.
He tried to do that.
But he said it was so, like, what? You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
If my mom's life was on the line, I wouldn't have approached it. Hey, yo, Bat.
Yeah, I wouldn't come into I wouldn't open. All right, so if someone told me, hey, go kill Peter, and Peter, he's also going to try to kill you because he doesn't like you, but go kill Peter or else I'm going to kill your wife. I wouldn't knock on Peter's door, take 5 steps in, be like, Peter, I need to tell you something. Keep walking towards him as Peter's pulling out a gun trying to kill him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I would probably knock on the door. Hey, Peter, help. Someone's trying to kill my wife. I need your help. I'm not here to fight you. Let's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was weird. It was kind of weird. I mean, I understand they needed a fight and they,
Right.
I understand why it was done, but it was just executed, I thought, really weird.
I would agree with that. I didn't like the whole stone's throw away from Metropolis thing, and the way they led into the scene was stupid, and the way they got out of the scene was really dumb.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, so this is what, yeah. So they're fighting. Basically, Batman gets the upper hand. He keeps using those grenade canisters, and he's beating, the crap out of Superman. And he takes Superman, drags him into this room, and he's made basically like a spear with it's like a sharp
the tip of its kryptonite.
Yeah, tip of its kryptonite. He's gonna stab Superman with it, which will kill him. And so he's got Superman on the ground, and Superman is weakened by the gas, and he doesn't know what to do, and he's hurt, and Batman scrapes the spear across his face, making him bleed, which is the only blood you really see in the movie. And so he's about to kill him, and then
Superman says, "Save Martha," and Batman says, "What did you say? Why did you say that name?" Which to me was totally cheesy, made no sense. And then you see this flashback that Batman has.
Yeah, they flash back to the dream
grave.
sequence in the beginning,
Right.
where
and you see Martha's name on the grave.
Yeah, so you see the whole kind of the kill dream sequence when his mom and dad die, and you hear his father say Martha again, and you're like, oh, that's the connection.
Right. I would think you can accomplish the same thing with just saying, stop, they're going to kill my mom. They don't have to have the same names. You can speak to Batman's inner love for his parents just by saying they're going to kill my mom. They've already taken, or my dad's already been taken from me. Don't take my mom away from me. I think you can come at it from that aspect and still accomplish
instead of saying Martha, because why would you say?
And then Lois comes in out of nowhere,
and he's
says,
like, "Why did you say that name?" And
she's like, "It's his mom's name.
It's his mother." Yeah,
right. And everything changes for Batman, and then all of a sudden he wants to save the day with Superman. To me, it was just a very cheesy way of going about it, and all the memes on the internet to me are justified. There are a lot of other similarities that Batman and Superman have other than their mother's names, which happens to be a coincidence.
Yeah.
So anyways, I thought Zack Snyder tried, but it came across very cheesy and unbelievable at that point.
Yeah, I actually kind of like it too. I like it was goofy. I see why it's goofy, but I also I think it was an important scene because Batman realizes at that moment. You're right. He could have said they're gonna kill my mother, but he would have been like you're an alien. I don't care. But the fact that he was like, no, they're gonna kill Martha.
I guess made it a little bit more personal.
Yeah, it made it more personal because he's like. So then at that moment, Batman's like, my mother's name is Martha, and he's like, well, why'd you say Martha? Why'd you say Martha? And she said his mother. That's his mother, and it's the connection of. Wait a minute, because up until this moment, Batman has constantly through the movie been like, no, he's an alien, and he's
right.
He has unstoppable power, and just if there's a 1% chance that he could be evil and use that for evil, then we're gonna stop him.
Right.
That's his whole motto, and that he's mad that he's basically if he wanted to at any time he could destroy us all. So at this moment, it kind of humanizes Superman for Batman.
I guess
the
same name. I think you're going a little too far there. It felt very cheesy, and the way Batman reacted is. Why did you say that name? Why did you say that name?
Well, yeah, because if I was about to kill you and you said my mother's name or my wife's name, I'd be like,
no, you'd probably just kill me like, oh, now you're making a mom joke when I'm about to kill you or something?
No, if I was about to kill you and you said, save Rachel, which is my wife, I would stop and be like, why did you just say her name? What does that mean? What are you trying to say? You know what I'm saying? I'm right. I'm right.
Well, yes, you are, but I think there's other ways to accomplish that, and I think Batman's reaction
versus if you said save my wife.
But what are the coincidences that our moms have the same name?
Okay, you're right.
They're making a stretch.
Okay. True.
So now that we got that fight over, I did like how one of the best fight scenes I've seen in a while, I guess. I don't even remember the last good fight scene I saw. Or John Wick. That was a great fight scene, which is another movie we'll have to do on this podcast. The fight scene when Batman goes in to
We'll do John Wick 2. We won't do John Wick.
John Wick? John Wick 2, yes.
We'll do John Wick 2. We're going to do the movies as they come out.
Nice. Yeah. So the fight scene when Batman goes to save Martha, his adopted mother, was awesome. I loved the camera placement. I love how real the fights felt. Mm-hmm. I loved how Batman got hurt, took the pain, and kept going. And I loved the style of the fight scene. It wasn't all ballerina, high kicks, flamboyant fight scene. It was very dirty and grungy.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't parkour jumping
right.
Yeah.
Right. It felt like almost like a Krav Maga type of fight, jiu-jitsu, MMA style.
It was basically if you were in a bar, but somebody knew how to fight in a bar.
Right.
It was brutal. Like you said,
it was very brutal. It was great.
Yeah, and to talk back what we were talking about earlier, this Batman he doesn't care about people.
He's snapping necks.
He's killing people.
Literally pile driving people into the ground.
Yeah, he takes the guy, and flips him over and just smashes his head through the floor. And then the other guy, there's somebody that ends up stabbing him. He gets stabbed, and he grabs the guy by the throat, picks him up, pulls the knife out of his own shoulder, and basically pins the dude to the wall with the knife.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And then he pile drive. Or I've already mentioned this, but. One of the best moments in the movie was that fight scene, and when he just pile drives that guy into the ground, I just thought, this is the Batman I've been wanting. Yeah. So that's what that fight scene really just pushed me over on this movie to give it that 6.5, 7, because that fight scene was incredible.
Yeah, it was a different take because a lot of people, we've seen this Batman he has rules, right? That was Christopher Nolan's thing, is that the Joker was constantly taunting him, saying, "Oh, you're gonna break your rules? No, you have rules. I know you're not gonna kill me."
Right.
And this Batman is
no rules.
No rules.
He uses all this misdirection, all the smoke, coming from the ground instead of coming through the door, and then just that fight scene, how close it
I
was,
loved it. It
how
was awesome.
grungy it was. That was a really good fight scene. I really loved it.
Yep, and I love too, which I guess his cowl, which we talked about earlier, I guess it's bulletproof because somebody came up to him and point blank and shot.
Oh yeah, that was great. That was great, and like his reaction to that was just like jarring.
Yeah,
and he got right back in, and the guy was like, "Wait, that didn't kill you?"
Yeah,
and Batman was jarred, but he still got back up and moved on. Now,
and then we see him go into the room, and
doesn't he come through like the drywall?
Yeah, he punches through the wall and takes one of the guys, and he has his gun, and then there's another guy that has Superman's mom at gunpoint with a flamethrower.
Yes.
It's like, I'm going to torture, like, I will do it, back down. He's like, I know. And then he fires at the guy's tank on his back, the flamethrower tank, which leaks gas, causing the dude to blow up in flames, but he jumps on top of Martha and shields her with his cape.
Yeah, for once awesome. He's able to save a mother.
Yeah, that was pretty cold. That was pretty bad. But yeah, definitely awesome. So the whole Martha scene, you can take it with what you want. I liked it. Peter didn't. I did. What did you think about the whole Lois Lane throwing the spear in the water part? Was that kind of weird? Like,
I didn't understand that at all. I didn't.
I got like, she was like, I want to hide this because I don't want someone to be able to kill him.
I know why she was there, because they had to put her in the same vicinity so that she can see the ending of Superman.
Yeah.
But why she couldn't just fly in on a helicopter to see the ending, or maybe see it from a helicopter as she's reporting everything going on. I don't know why she had to show up and reinforce to Batman that it's his mother, and then she throws a spear. I think the reason they threw that in there is because when Superman is in Congress, he's so focused on what's happening that he's not seeing the bomb that's in the wheelchair. And so when he's fighting Doomsday, he is still keeping his wits about him. He's still becoming aware, and he hears Lois drowning in the water to get the spear. And so I understand from a story perspective why they put Lois there.
Yeah.
But I think that could be accomplished elsewhere.
Yeah. Did you think, because I kept thinking too, like when she walked down back to the water, when she was like, oh crap, I shouldn't have thrown that down there. We need it now.
Yeah.
When she walked over, did you think that Aquaman was going to come up with the spear? But I actually did for a second. I was like, oh, maybe they'll introduce Aquaman.
Aquaman hangs out in random pools.
I know, yeah, at the docks. Yeah, he just happens to be there.
Hey, Lois, what's going on? You want to see my trident?
Yeah. I did for a second. I was like, how are they going to do this?
Again, another opportunity for an Easter egg there, Zach. But I understand from a story perspective why she was there, why she couldn't be held up in Metropolis with some other random thief or something. I don't know, but I guess I understand why they had to put her in the vicinity. I didn't understand why she threw the spear in the water if she thinks that's going to get rid of it completely. I thought they were throwing it there to be found in another movie somewhere else by another villain.
Interesting. Okay, so to wrap things up real quick, I want to go over the last scene 2 of the movie. We see Superman gets killed. He sacrifices himself basically to save everyone from Doomsday, to kill Doomsday, and he dies in the process. Did the whole scene, so you kind of see, you get a little glimpse of what's to come of the Justice League, and the whole, I thought the Lex Luthor scene was kind of weird too in the prison.
Yeah, I don't know why that was there.
Yeah, I mean that was to kind of explain what Lex Luthor knew, to give you hints that Darkseid is coming. Mm-hmm. And then you see them burying Clark, the actual real body of Superman, at his farmhouse, but as Clark. Mm-hmm. And then you see the world seeing Superman being buried, but there's nothing in the casket, obviously.
Right.
And there's like 2 funerals going on at once, and at the end we see, Superman was going to propose to Lois, and she's got a ring. And after talking to Bruce, she picks up a clump full of dirt and she throws it over the casket, which is now in the hole. And right before the scene closes, we start to see the dirt kind of lift off the casket, which is basically what happens every time Superman's about to fly. You kind of see gravity start to shift, and he flies, which goes to show you that he's not dead. Obviously he's not dead. Yeah.
I think going into this movie, unfortunately, as the viewers, or I guess informed viewers, no, there is a Justice League.
Yeah, we know there's a Justice League movie coming out, and there's no Justice League without Superman.
Yeah,
so.
there is no Justice League without Superman. And so the whole crowd is just waiting for. And I actually liked the ending.
Yeah, I did like it.
Instead of giving that sensation to the audience, letting them walk away with a really good feeling, they're still questioning, how is he going to come back? Is he going to come back? And what mode is he coming back? I think it does leave a lot of questions. And I did like one of the lines that, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but basically the effect was they're bearing him as a military hero on Washington, which is not who he was.
Yeah.
He was a humanitarian. Yes, he did help save the world. He was a boyfriend. He was a friend. He was a son. And I really like that aspect. I really like that line. And I like that Bruce Wayne was there. Because even though throughout the DC universe, Batman and Superman have this disdain for each other, they also have this mutual respect for each other. And I really did like that they had Batman there.
So overall, I think our combined score of the movie, I gave it a 7. Peter gave it a 6.5. Total, we would say between a 6.75. It's a good movie. I would say great movie. It's a great movie.
I think it's
not a perfect movie.
No, it's a blockbuster. I mean, Blockbuster is one of those movies that does over 50 million, over 75 million in a weekend.
Yeah, financially they've done great. They've already broken some records. And I think with the release right before spring break, I actually think that was a really good decision.
Right.
Yeah. Also, this is really interesting too, which I don't know if this was purposely done, but it was released over Easter weekend. Do you notice the whole
God undertone? Is that where you're going with this?
Yeah, the whole religious undertone. I read this somewhere. I was like, that actually makes sense. The Trinity of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman.
Yeah. There's a lot of references to God is dead.
Yes. There's a reference to, we see Superman die. He sacrifices himself to save everyone. And he rises from the whole, the dead. Like the whole oh yeah, I thought that was pretty, cool.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure they, marketing wise, they're like, oh, let's do this around Easter. So I think the release of it at the time was perfect. Perfect release time. I think they've done great financially wise. I think they've, gotten a ton of money, and the consumer reviews are good. Critic reviews are pretty bad. But yeah, total we give it 6.75.
I think everyone's saying the critic reviews are bad, but the critic reviews, in my opinion, are right there on par with the same critic reviews for the Avengers, the same critic reviews.
They're not though. The Avengers got good reviews.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, the Avengers got great reviews.
I mean, for the Metascore on IMDb, I think it's around like a 55.
Okay, but if you're going by Rotten Tomatoes, which is the basic, Rotten Tomatoes pulls from reviews from all across the internet, and they tally them up. Yeah, I'm going by Rotten Tomatoes, but yeah, you're right. If you're going by IMDb.
The Metascore is right around 55, which is pretty average with a blockbuster like this. I mean, it's going to want to appeal to the masses.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a niche audience.
Family friendly, pretty much. There's not really any, but I mean, there's some language. There's no sexuality really. There's a tub scene with Lois where she's naked in a tub. You don't really see anything, and Superman gets in there with his clothes on.
Yeah, his clothes are on.
Yeah, his clothes are on.
Sorry, ladies.
Yeah, violence. There's really no violence at all. There's violence, but there's not any blood.
Any more so than there is in an animated Batman's or Superman.
Yeah, no blood or gore. So
I would take my third grader to go see this movie.
Yeah, you don't have a third grader.
Thankfully.
Yeah, PG-13 rating. I would have liked. I'm excited about the rated R version. I liked more mature films, so I'm excited to see what that's going to have on it. And yeah, overall 6.75 out of 10 we give it, and I would say go see it while it's in theaters, and definitely see it when the rated R version comes out. And yeah, so that's it for our first episode. Any closing remarks?
Thank you for listening. I'm sure I'm sure there's a lot of great podcasts out there to listen to, so we appreciate you guys listening to ours. We will get better.
Yeah, we're kind of all over the place too with this episode. We're gonna, as we go along, we hear feedback. You know, we'll adjust to how we need to make this the best listening experience and the best review we can give for each film that we watch. Would you agree?
I would definitely agree.
Okay, good. So this is the end of episode 1, and we have just finished reviewing Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. Thanks again, everybody, for listening all the way through and checking us out. Please remember to hit subscribe. Go ahead and go over to whatever podcast provider you found us on and give us a rating and review. And that really helps us reach more people, get our name out, and share if you can on any social network you're on. And we have plans for stuff. If this picks up, right now we're going to do it bi-weekly, meaning we'll put one episode out every 2 weeks. And if it picks up, we'll be doing more, and we'll also have some more. We're going to try to introduce some more stuff to the show, which will be kind of interesting. We'll see where it takes us. Also, remember to check us out on Twitter at 2 Talking Movies. That's at the number 2 Talking Movies.
And while you're on the internet, go ahead and head on over to facebook.com/2 Men Talking Movies. Like our page and share our post.
And while you're on Facebook, don't forget to enter into the contest to win the free $20 movie gift card. But thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading this. And see you guys in 2 weeks.
See you later.
Keep the change, you filthy animal. 2 Men Talking Movies.